This is Tech and Strategy, the podcast where marketing systems meet data, real world execution. We break down how today's teams are building, measuring, and scaling for growth. Today, with me, I have Dr. Darshana Jayasinghe. He is a senior strategic leader with over 20 years of experience across various fields from financial services, FMCG, telecom, and travel in Sri Lanka, Singapore, and India. He currently works as a consultant, business strategist, and analyst at Miracle Oman Travel DMC with expertise in business strategy, marketing, and digital transformation. He also is a chartered marketer, fellow of CIM, and holds the Doctor of Business Administration from the University of California. Alongside his corporate work, he also lectures and mentors in marketing for professionals as recognized for his contributions for influencer marketing, academia, and leadership through several local and international awards. So, Dr. Darshana, we see your impressive background, but also I see that recently you've turned towards influencer content and influencer marketing, and you've been talking quite a lot. I initially saw your content on LinkedIn mainly, but I've seen that you've been talking about influencer content a lot recently. Why is that? What made you get into this line of thought, and do you think influencer content is the future and has potential?
First and foremost, thank you, NikIn, for inviting me for this lovely podcast, and I really appreciate your presence and opportunity that you have given me to kind of enlighten the audience about the influencer marketing. I think the word influencer is a bit of a jargon, right? And I would call it this is content creators. I mean, I think marketers would love to call this as influencer marketing, but if you look at, this is digital content creators, right? And this is a bit of a economy. Now what you see is, in this economy, in some modern markets, they take this as a industry, yeah, digital content creator industry. When you look at this digital creator content industry, there are few partners, few stakeholders in it. One stakeholder is the bloggers, right? And the other stakeholder is the influencers. And now the most emerging stakeholder is the podcast, right? So the content, what you saw earlier in traditional media, now people are converting into digital platform, right? So content is content, but the power of social media, the power of internet has given another industry, which is what we call this digital content creation. We call it, digital content industry, right? So if you look at the industry globally, this has started about a decade ago, right? And in 2020, this market was about 10 billion USD, right? And now you won't believe it is about 36 billion. And as per Statistica, it's a global kind of industry estimate institute. They value digital creator industry altogether. This is including influencer marketing. It's about more than 500 million business, right? So what is happening in modern markets like in USA, in some parts of Europe, and maybe in China, this business is becoming very big, right? And that's where I think, as a marketer, I mean, we love to do quite a lot of digital disruption, and we want to kind of reach our audience. And something about a 5 years back, you know we started this influencer marketing, and some of my superiors were questioning me, what is the ROI, Nikhil? You invest, and you get a third party person to talk about your product, and it's a similar thing. advertising, you do the same thing. You get a person to endorse your product. Only difference in is he or she is appearing on social media, and you get that person to kind of endorse your product. So the question is, what is that ROI that triggered me investing my time? And to answer your question, invest in my time and energy into this. And for last 4 to 5 years, it is not just an academia. It's just practice, as well as understanding the dynamics of this industry was a tremendous experience for me.
That's very interesting and insightful. So, like you mentioned, I think the influencer, or like you mentioned, the content creator rather, content industry has been growing rapidly, from bloggers to podcast and so on. And I think, uh, personally, I've seen quite a lot of Chinese influencers, even brands like Temu and so on. There's a different grade of influencers that are being created as well for selling fast moving products. So, um, I think you brought up a good question, and maybe I could ask you the question again. Um, what do you think are the factors that we need to evaluate, or business leaders, decision makers need to evaluate when deciding on influence or content creator collaborations? And how can you see the value or the ROI on that?
That's a very good question, because in organization, every rupee counts now, right? Marketing is being challenged. Not like earlier days where you go and spend money, and maybe even without a return, you can always go and say it's a equity building, right? But now equity building is more long term, right? And marketeers love to say, we want to build our equity, right? And hence we need to go for a long term investment. But unfortunately, the businesses are looking for immediate results, right? I- and I think this is a very good tool, cost effective tool. I think if you look at the other advertising forms, if you look at, I mean, we always say outdoor advertising is the most cheapest advertising method, but there is no return. You can't measure it, right? But when it comes to influencer marketing, what we see is you can measure, you can get immediate results. That's why I say this is a very good effective tool. But what we see is marketeers, they use this as a tactical tool. In my view, Nikin, this needs to be seen as a sustainable model. When you see this as a sustainable model, then the results will come, right? Where we go wrong is actually sometimes we love the word influencer, and whenever campaign come, my team members, they come and say, okay, let's do an influencer campaign, right? They can say, okay, fine, okay, let's do an influencer campaign. So who are the influencers? Oh, this person has X number of subscribers, this person has X number of impressions, likes. So we looked at this surface information, we call it vanity metrics, and we love to get these guys to endorse our brand, right? So yes, influencer marketing is a good tool, but you got to be right in terms of selecting the best influencers for your brand, right? For Before I come to your answering your question, I just want to bring this difference, because I think most of us still not clear who are the influencers, right? For me, if you get a celebrity and do a social media uh, stunt, it is not influencer marketing. For me, how I consider influencer marketing is, I want business, right? I want business. I don't need third person comes and selling my product. Next day, he is getting visibility, right? I mean, people love to make likes not because of your product, because of that person, and you are giving a nice coverage for that person. So for me, I would say influencers are the ones who emerged from social media, who have earned social users because of their credibility, because of their trust. If you have that trust, credibility, and your brand also fitting to particular TG, then you got to select that influencer.
So just to clarify, you're referring to niching down to your specific audience and finding influencers from your specific brand's niche. Is that correct? And
Absolutely.
looking at
I think one thing that a factor we need to look at is your brand fit. You got to see whether this particular brand, your it could be your brand values and also your brand intended TG is the TG that this particular influencer has. Because it's not just the subscribers, it's not just the likes, not about comments, sharings, right? It's about whether you're selecting the right influencer, because that when you endorse that product, when you because influencer marketing is not just you just take this mug and you say, okay, buy this. It's about how he or she experience that product, and generally taking to his lifestyle, and giving that experience. It could be gross positives, gross negatives, but that is that credibility that person is giving for the for that particular the fan or the subscribers, that will have more trustworthiness, more credibility, then you will see the results.
okay. So I think what you're referring to is how the influencer or the content creator is building the connection with the audience. That's
Absolutely,
correct. Yeah.
absolutely.
Right. So that's some great insight. I think uh, maybe to sum up, I think what you are practical saying is don't use cricketers for every campaign, or don't use actresses for every campaign. Find your niche and find the correct fit for your product, and someone or some a group of people that can connect with the audience, connect with your end users.
uh, I think I just want to add one point.
Sure, go ahead.
Right. I mean, to answer, to add to what you mentioned, yesterday I was kind of doing a webinar for this thing. Then the question came was, are we in an illusion or are we really into influence?
Right.
Right. Why I'm saying we are in illusion, because if your brand objectives want to create awareness, don't use influencer marketing. Just go with what you said. You can get a sports star, film star, a celebrity, actress or actor coming into that. You can get awareness. But if you really want influencer marketing, then awareness is not just one parameter. You got to create the conversions.
That's interesting. So, do you have any examples where influencer campaigns have worked, and how have they been able to justify that ROI, justify that investment that they've made?
Personal experience, working in my previous banking experience, how I say is, one thing we believe is we want to create our own influences. One thing I experiment is, rather than getting a third person, we wanted to give opportunity for our own people who can do influencing, because the credibility. Because if NikIn appears on a banking products and talking about a banking product you have never used, do you have the believability? Do you have the credibility? But people who are inside talking has more credibility. So what we have seen, in fact, we have given our own talents. We call it. We used a nice word also. We said brand influencers, right? It's your own brand and you are the one who are influencing. And I'm happy to say that some of the guys who never thought I can do influencing has they have now started creating content, right? And I mean, what we saw is, for any product, I mean, it could, because we mostly we haven't used much for product selling, but for especially under the security, what we see is tremendous. tremendous response from the, because one thing is people think conversion is selling. It's not only selling, it's about changing opinion, it's about changing a belief and making a trial and let get them to do a sample and test them. So these are the things when you say conversion, right? So after some time, the that particular consumer will start believing you, start consuming your products. But to answer your question, I see, because I am actually, as one of the, I'm the juror for brand excellence, and I see Sri Lankan brands are now really investing. And I think a lot of the FMCG brands heavily now go into FMCG. One product that I can recall in my mind is Dove. You go and check Dove, and how Dove is actually, they position that brand through influencers, not just as a selling. It's about how they bring that as a lifestyle, how they bring into their life moments and bringing that right experience. And also I have seen in different stage of the consumer, they have different influencers to kind of get that. So they look at not just creating awareness, but they look at the funnel, right? And the beauty is, those days, Nikhil, the we always know, Kotler, always says, the marketing guru, we have to go this AIDA, right? You have to create interest, you have to create awareness, you have to create interest, desire, and then you have the outcome of purchase, right? But with influencer marketing, these four happen simultaneously. That's the beauty, right? So it's getting updated, things are evolving. And the other product that I can quote is the Carnage. If you look at Carnage brand, how it it brought this youth appeal is to Instagram, right? I would say, Carnage was a brand, it came because of the sheer youth pressure. They were on Instagram, and they got the influencers, and then automatically it was creating a different subsets of so we have beautiful Sri Lankan brands. We can talk about it. Carnage is a very good example. Another thing that I want to highlight in influencer marketing is some influencers are the owners, right? They are the entrepreneurs. I've seen now Sparsilone is a really good example, and the same thing we did, and Sparsilone is also doing, because their employees are now endorsing their products, and their owner is started and believing, because they know the product than anybody else. So I think for SMEs, MSMEs, influencer marketing is a really effective tool. Okay.
That's very interesting because I think you gave examples from a diverse set of brands,
Yeah.
from brands like Carnage to Dove
Yeah.
and so on, and also about the employee generated content or the
Yes.
employee branding and the founder branding as well.
Absolutely.
And I think it's not just in Sri Lanka as well. I think if you might have seen the McDonald's burger challenge where the CEO eats their own burger, and
Yes.
then now a lot of the fast food chains are following up on that. So I think that also ties into it, right? Where you are promoting your own product, giving credibility to it. So I think the overall narrative is that you need to build that credibility and that trust and have that connection with the consumer. That's very interesting. So going back to something you mentioned previously about ROI, how would brands be able to clearly and conveniently measure that ROI? Because you mentioned that influencer marketing is not really the very long game about awareness, and it's not also about the number of followers you have. How do brands, or how can brands measure that ROI and ensure it's giving positive ROI?
I would take this way, because as marketers, as brand marketing mm, folks, we love to look at likes. We love to look at how many shares that we got for influencer marketing. This is the jargon we talk, Nikhil, right? But for me, like I said, conversion is not just you're looking a real purchase. Conversion can take different forms. One is the conversion can come from changing an opinion. Conversion can come from through trial. Conversion can come through creating a content. We call it UGC, user generated content. For the brand, you create that content, right? And the user himself believe, okay, I this is something that I experienced, and it's a positive experience that you are sharing. This is, and in the world, what we see is these UGCs coming very strongly, right? Brands really invested, and I think through influencers, this can really get multiple effective. So UGC is actually it's one way you can measure, and you got to tell your influencer that look, if you are not looking for a real purchase, you need to get the base has to talk about the talkability has to come from the user generated content. That's the one measure that I
So
would
it's
say.
not just the content of the influencer, but also the trailing content, right?
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I would say is, I think for you to measure, in my view, now if you look at the banking industry now, we in the moment of digitizing, right? Everything what we are looking at is even for to get a lead and to onboard the customer, and there after that, it's about retaining the customer. All that is being now digitized. Most of the bank, the back end is already digitized. The front end is where we are looking at now. If you look at modern markets, it's already happening. But for me, bringing this CRM, consumer relationship management system, taking into consideration the leads, onboarding, retention, I see influencer marketing has to get embedded into this. Right. And I will come to that, I foresee, but that is where you can measure it. Because influencer marketing without this CRM, it's going to be tough to uh, justify, right? So it's not just a marketer who thinks, it's the top management has to make that call, thinking as a it is a overall strategy and organization. So because it's if organization believe in digitalization, then it's going to have a quick results. Quickly it can be measured, but few other ways that you can look at. I said that as one is a UGC. The other thing is how many by influencer who come and make the endorsement, how many visits, how many website clicks that you have done, you have got. For that, what you the opportunity you have is the remarketing. You got to see. We always say top of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel. It's just not the top of the funnel. You need to ensure you need to keep remarketing, reinvesting on the users, on the not the users, on the prospects who have come to your site, who have uh, clicked your content. That you need to follow and get it. Then you can see the measurability.
Right. That's very interesting. So, what you're saying is that one is the conversions from web traffic and so on, and the other is the UGC. So, this would you say that sentiment plays a role as well? For example, not just looking at the number of likes, but also looking at the comments that come in, seeing how people's opinions of a brand change over time as well. Would you say that also is part of measuring, or would you say that's more towards brand building?
I would say it's a part of it, as you correctly said, because this is that is a starting point, right? You can't just get up. Now, if you take banking product, by just having an influencer campaign, you next day you won't change your bank, right?
Yeah.
That decision, it's a you need to see quite a lot of things for you to change the bank, right? So that's where I said, it's a change in attitude, but you got to every how do I say, every stage of your consumer funnel, you need to have interventions. You need to have, so that's why I said this. If you look at the modern markets, how they can't have, I mean, maybe thousands of influencers. What they do is now they bring this virtual influencers. For each stage of the consumer, you have a trained influencer. Okay, from X to Y, you stage one, then you have passed one stage, and there are influencers they have trained to make your decision more feasible. So that's the power of this influencer marketing. That's why I always believe, I think with this AI disruption, I think influencer marketing also will go through this AI disruption and coming to CRM. That's what I believe.
But since you mentioned AI and since we are in the AI field as well, I've seen a lot of. There's a quick question. I've seen a lot of AI, pages popping up, and a lot of AI virtual influencers coming up. Where do you see this going?
I think I think when organizations going into more digital space, and especially with the disruption of AI, I think definitely influencer marketing will also go through this space, right? That's why I said, NikIn, I believe in another maybe three to 5 years time, you will see, rather than physical appearances, we will have these virtual influences, AI influences. Already it's there. Already it's there, right?
And sometimes they have more followers and more engagement than humans.
So I mean, you would have seen in Tokyo, the biggest the problem for teenagers, especially girls, is the this AI based boyfriends, right? It's a virtual boyfriend, right? Because they can customize the boyfriend according to their teams, right? So similar way, like I said, we go through each stage. Like I said, influencer, the biggest thing that I see is the effectiveness. I don't need an influencer coming and endorsing just my brand. I want the conversions. Conversions in the sense, not just selling, change the mindset, change the behavior, right? For that, I would say this, with this AI disruption, this is become even cost effective, even cost effective, because the production time, hiring influencers, all that drama is not going to be there with AI, right?
Yes, that's true. Very true. I think what I've seen is as well. Sometimes it's very difficult to identify if it's AI influencer or not as well.
Yes.
It's come to that stage, and I wonder where it'll be in another 5, 10 years
Yes,
time.
yes.
It might be completely, but also maintaining that human touch still is important as well, I guess. So yes, other than the AI influences and the AI coming into play, do you see any other key changes that are to come in the near future, moving into 2026 and the 2030s? Where do you see influencer marketing change?
Uh, One aspect that I see is, right now influencers are into different categories, about 250 categories they are into. But something which is emerging is the environment, eco-friendly influencers, right? And we because when the world is going into more environmental friendly sustainability, I see quite a lot of opportunities coming for this new category called sustainable influencers, right? They talk not just about a particular product or something. It's about behavioral change, but so it's a more government driven influencing campaign, I would say, right? And also agent AI systems, right? Now, in AI, some of these agent automation systems are coming, right? Some of your internal systems through AI agents, you can actually completely revamp. Okay. So I see, just like the influencers that we are physically going to do, we have an agent in place, right? And the agent will do, AI will tell us, okay, This is where we need to tap, and these are the influencers that we need to train. These are the virtual influencers, the content, everything we will done through this AI. So that's why I say CRM will play a CRM is one agent, and with AI integration it's going to be big, right? The other thing that I can say is I would see that even platforms now, we had only Facebook earlier, then Instagram is more picture based, right? Then short videos, it's the TikTok. I feel with AI integrations the platform capabilities will be different, right? So influencers also, they have some AI capability where their life becomes easier. Right? This is how I see, because already some of the platforms they have AI is integrated, but uh, the capacity and the kind of expansions the AI can generate, I think the platform also evolve, and maybe we will see different platforms, right? And the other change that I see from a marketer's point of view, I don't see next maybe 5 years brand managers exist. Right? I would perceive time to come, we will advertise, we want content creators. Because we don't need to depend on influencers. We want content who can create. Now, what I see is now earlier, I mean, now it's happening already. Brand managers' role has evolved into, because right now we have digital manager, we have brand manager. For me, okay, what are we doing? For me, digital is more performance based. I mean, they are the guys who look at the efficiencies. Brand manager becoming, it's a mandatory thing that a brand manager should have is the digital. And with this expansion, his role is becoming a storytelling. I mean, we as brand managers, we are talking about storytelling. We create that story becoming a digital content creator. So in times to come, Nikin, you will see advertisement already. I have seen in especially in Europe, influencer marketing specialist, influencer marketing manager, influencer lead. This is what is happening. But time to come, even you don't need influencer marketing specialist, the brand role evolve into a content creators.
So I think the outcome from that for marketers, or outtake from that for marketers, is that you need to evolve and learn new skills, be more creative.
Absolutely.
And yes, that's how you can retain your job, I guess. And I think it's very interesting about what you mentioned about new platforms evolving as well. What from from what I feel as well is that there was there was the Twitter and Facebook era, and then there was Instagram, and there was a huge or relatively large amount of time span between that.
Yeah.
And the time span for changing platforms like Instagram to Snapchat or TikTok has been shorter, and that's shortening as well. So
Absolutely.
the time span to change is shortening as well. So we might see a new platform or two coming out in the next few years. So I think we've summed up quite a lot of discussion today. We've talked about how influencers or content creators, as you say, play a huge role, and how that role is evolving, and how it becomes important for brands to monitor and use metrics to monitor the performance of influencers and content creators, and how that fits into the whole marketing playbook of organizations. So that's it for our first session with Dr. Darshana. So thank you for accepting our invite and joining this podcast.
Thank you very much, Nikin. I hope something that I kind of given to the audience. I think one last thing that I want to mention is don't just take influencer marketing as a tactical tool. It has to be seen as a sustainable, a strategic tool, because I always say this does not have to be seen by only by marketers. This has to be seen even the top management, because That's where the cost efficiencies will come. When you see this as a sustainable thing, entire ecosystem, entire business model needs to get changed.
Very true. Thank you for all your insights and thank you for joining us. That's it for now.